I'm P. Karunya Rao and I'm here with an all-new episode of Brandstand, your go-to show for the latest from the ad, marketing and media world. And since Women's Day is just a couple of days away, we at Brandstand decided to salute girl power in the A&M sector in this episode. Maxus's global CEO speaks on the existing gender gap in the industry and her plans for the agency network. And industry insiders give their top picks for the most women-friendly ads. Let's take a look at the top news of the week gone by.
Arena Media, a part of Havas Media Group, announced the win of Bagrry's India Limited, a leading brand of breakfast cereals and health foods in the Indian subcontinent. The brand was won after a multi-agency pitch. The integrated media mandate will include traditional as well as digital and mobile duties, and the account will be handled from the Gurgaon office of Arena. Contract Advertising announced the appointment of Arjun Sen, who returns to the agency as Executive Vice President and General Manager, Mumbai Operations. Arjun, who is back after a short gap of 2 years, has worked on some of the leading brands of the agency such as Cadbury, Shoppers Stop, Murphy Richards and Bajaj Electricals, amongst others, for 6 years. Maxus India launched Maxus Kaleidoscope, a unique mood-based planning tool. The web-based tool is expected to enable brands in India to align their communication basis the emotional and behavioral parameters of the audience. The tool measures parameters such as share of mood, receptivity of audience and appropriate moment for engagement from a brand and audience perspective. This is Maxus India's second initiative on behavioral mapping, the first being Moribus, first of its kind behavioral sciences lab by a media agency in partnership with the Mumbai University. The Walk 100, an annual ranking of the world's 100 best campaigns and companies based on their performance, in effectiveness and strategy competitions, has named Mullen Low Lintas Group India the top creative agency in the world. The agency is the first to claim the number one position for 2 consecutive years. Additionally, the Mullen Low Group Global Network has retained its 4th place position as top creative network for the 2nd year in a row. The much-awaited union budget presented by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley on Monday did not bring much cheer to the media and entertainment sector. Save some duty relief on set-up boxes and the hope that spends will increase, given some relief for the rural and start-up sectors. But there's the equalization levy, or what's being called the Google tax of 6%, that took some by surprise.
Any Indian payer making a payment for online advertisement to the foreign company not having a P in India would be under an obligation to withhold this levy at the rate of 6% and deposit to the government. It would be interesting to see whether these foreign companies will bear this tax and accept the lower margin, or will pass on to the Indian payer, thereby resulting in the additional advertisement cost to them.
Media Services Network Maxus's global CEO Lindsay Pattison was in the capital for a leadership summit last week. And being the only woman on WPP's 18-member board, we couldn't have got a better guest this week to share her thoughts on the existing gender gap in the industry, along with, of course, some significant insights and her plans for Maxus. Take a look. Welcome to Brandstand, Lindsay. It's been around a year and a half since you took charge as the global CEO at Maxus, and of course you're familiar with the Maxus system and are a media service business veteran yourself. Could you tell us about some of the milestones in your journey so far?
God, I don't like the word veteran, it makes me sound really old. As a global network, we were only formed in 2008. So I was the first UK CEO, and it was a really exciting time because we were beginning to put CEOs in place in markets all over the world. So it's the start of a new network for WPP and for Group M, so it's exciting. So we went from 30 to 250, and we enjoyed incredible growth by leaning into the resources of Group M and WPP and winning some fantastic clients. And then the step up to global CEO was a huge honour. I'm surrounded by a brilliant exco teams.
You've changed the agency's mission from leaning in change to leading change. Is it merely a shift of linguistic gears, or should we expect anything more coming up from Maxus?
Leaning or lean in makes sense to native English speakers. In some markets it translates as tilting, and tilting isn't a particularly great word. It sounds a bit unsteady. And in China, I think it translated as falling downstairs, which is not very good. So that was kind of a taxonomy issue. But I also think, leaning into change is great, but leading change is much more powerful and much more impactful.
Given the current scenario, you now have data and technology choices in addition to the media choices that already existed that you had to advise your clients on. How do you think is the media business or Maxus specifically coping up with this transition?
What we're doing this year is thinking about technology from two perspectives, actually. So firstly, internally, actually taking a good long hard look at our own business. What technology do we need in our own business to make sure we are systemised and automated and sharing best practice? And then secondarily, of course, how do we use technology for our clients? How do we provide a technology consulting business, which we launched just last month? How do we provide expertise across platforms, across ad serving, across DSPs and DMPs and the world of programmatics?
While most people think that technology is responsible for the biggest impact on your industry, a very small percentage of people think that the industry is ready to cope with it. Where do you think lies the gap or the problem?
I think the issues are that most clients have tons of data in different systems and they find it very hard to join things up, and we all talk very grandly about put an API and you can plug it in. Actually it's generally much more complex than that, which is why the technology consulting business we've launched is helping clients understand where all their data sits on what systems and how to make it truly useful.
What do you think is the biggest concern for the industry's future?
Gosh, that's a big question. I think because we are shifting to a much more digital world, so in the mature markets, digital will account for 50% of the media expenditure. Here in India, it's actually only about 13%, so some way to go. And there's increasing noise and concerns in the area of digital around ad blocking, around viewability, around ad fraud, and we have to do a lot as an industry to work out how we tackle all of those issues.
How would you rate Maxus India's performance in the last year? 2015 saw Maxus lose its numero uno status to Mindshare at the MVs, and even according to the RECMA roster, Mindshare has toppled Maxus. Do you see 2016 seeing the return of Maxus India?
Of course. Yeah. Awards are funny, aren't they? We will pick and choose where we win Agency of the Year, and we win Agency of the Year in many different awards. And Mindshare, who are a lovely sister agency, who we like a lot, have also won some awards. So if we've got two super strong Group M agencies, then that's great, because it's better to have healthy competition amongst sisters than it is. As long as we keep everyone else down, that's okay. But I think Maxus India is a star market for us. It's a top 5 market for Group M, India as a market, and Maxus India is a top 5 market for us. And we look to India for two things. One, for innovation and being entrepreneurial with tons of new products and new research initiatives all the time. And we also look to them for creativity and effectiveness.
And do you have any specific targets for Maxus India? Because digital may be the way forward, but according to Group M's TY report, print is still riding high in India.
Yeah, I mean, TV and newspapers are surprisingly strong. They're surprisingly strong if you come from a UK background or a US background. But digital is the area of growth and opportunity. But we're strong, I think we're very strong digitally, and we have some great initiatives tying up with Internet of Things Bangalore, some new research, Synapse research, which looks at correlating traditional media, so TV in this instance, with social buzz. And then we're also looking at how you tie up TV with search results as well.
We just read about Mindshare setting up a full-service agency for Nippon Paints in Malaysia, and there are obviously other units like Mindshare Fulcrum and MEC Red Fuse. Obviously, this is a very profitable route to take to maximize revenues. What is Maxus's gambit on that front?
We've always had a very strong content division for Maxus, actually driven here out of India, but now Ajit, who used to run India but now runs our Asia Pacific region, has taken that model out over to Singapore and is spreading that across. We create content by ourselves, we create content in partnership mainly with media vendors, is a very successful model. And we also create content continuously in SEO in our social teams, because we're creating content and we're serving that with dynamic optimization all the time. We're not going to set ourselves up as a competitor to JWT or Ogilvy. We are at heart a media agency, but what we can do in terms of helping understand and influence and partner up with media owners in the production of content, I think is is the direction we'll go in.
The Maxus website boasts of the fact that Maxus has WPP's first female media agency global CEO. Is that really a big deal?
I think sadly it is a big deal because I'm actually the only global media CEO, full stop, all over the world for any OpCo. I can only think of one other marketing services global CEO, Jean Lin, here in Asia for Isobar. We have a couple in WPP in the area of PR and health, but there just aren't enough senior women at the top of our business. We're very good locally and we're very good regionally, but in terms of global leaders, far too few. So the stats bear it out. In every market, in every industry, there just aren't enough senior women in the top positions, and I think we need to do something about it.
The reason for asking this is again that your website says that 40% of senior leadership around the world are women and that the gender pay gap is only of 4%.
Yeah, we started by looking at who we consider to be our most senior leaders around the world. What is that percentage? So that's 40% of our senior leaders, which is great. But actually, when I look at our regional and global excos, our boards, it drops down to 24%. Less good. And then again, we conducted a survey into our top 12 markets to look at the pay gap between men and women at the senior, middle and junior level. And it's 4% when I normalise the data, but it's variable by market and it's variable by level. But at least I now know what our start point is and we can begin to work and understand why there's that gap and look to try and close it. But globally, the gap is 23%. So we are much better than the global average. But here in India, I think Maxus is okay, but your ranking, I think the World Economic Forum does a ranking of gender gaps, and I think you're ranked, I think it's 99th, something not great.
So what is it that gives Lindsay Pattison sleepless nights? What worries you about tomorrow?
What worries me about tomorrow? Having to go and present to WPP's budget meetings always. I sleep pretty well, actually, because I think I've had 5 great years Maxus in the UK and a year and a half now in my global role, and we've had growth every single. And if I feel that I'm setting the conditions for success, then hopefully I'm enabling and empowering everyone else to go and deliver it. So as long as I'm being true to myself and trying to do the best job I possibly can, then I sleep well.
Well, here's to more such happy, peaceful nights for you and hoping for a better year for women all over. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Pleasure.
Gender sensitivity in advertising has been a gradual development. It took advertisers and agency folks some time to give way to bikini-clad, fairness-obsessed, always in the kitchen type for a more empowered person of substance kind of depiction of women. So, to trace this evolution and give us their personal pick of top gender-sensitive ads over the years, we have with us A.L. Sharda from Population First and Meenakshi Menon of Spatial Access. Over to you, ladies.
The way advertising portrays women has also historically been a problem. But I think recently one is seeing a change, a positive change. And considering that you do so much work in the whole area of gender sensitivity, what do you think?
There's been I think, visible change in the last 2-3 years. Maybe because there is a lot of reaction from younger women and men against gender stereotyping, gender violence. And also more and more women are influencing the market, purchase decisions, they are being actively involved. There's more participation of women in the workforce. Also there has been a change. So they are obviously the target of advertising and they cannot ignore them. Particularly with the digital media coming into space, I think they are able to explore the issues in a much more far more elaborate fashion.
No, and I'm glad you mentioned digital media because I think a lot of manufacturers today, advertisers, are concerned about the whole gender issue, not because they are genuinely concerned, but because digital media and social media is immediately ready to pounce on somebody and, give them a slap in the face if they are seen to step out of line. And, that's when you say, thank God for social media. And I'm saying this as a practitioner of advertising. If we believe that because of what we do, people actually go out and buy one brand compared to another brand, then it is our responsibility to say that we don't reflect society, but we actually guide society. Basically, we need a mindfulness in the industry. We must be mindful of the kind of everything, of the language, of the stuff we do. And it's fundamental to advertising because we are changing minds, we are changing attitudes, we are changing behavior. I've been very, very impressed with this current campaign that's running on Ariel, sponsored by Ariel, which is Share the Load. Okay, I, for one, every time I see that commercial, I want all the men that I know to look at that. No man wants to do laundry. Okay, everywhere across the developed world, laundry is seen as a chore for the individual. Okay, men do their own laundry, women do their own laundry. Here, this commercial, this advertising has for the first time raised this issue. And what I really like about it is that it's the father saying with regret, okay, that I did not help my wife and I was insensitive.
It actually talks of the whole gendering process that happens in the family,
Correct.
where you give a tea set to the girl and
Yeah.
you give a newspaper or a cricket
Ball
to
and
the
bat. Yeah.
son, and how it actually builds up their images of being a girl or
Correct.
boy and all that, and all the associated roles and responsibilities which are not equal, which are not fair. For me, the Titan Raga ad was really very good, because one thing is it talks of the right of the woman to have a career, and also her choice, that she and it very subtly and in a very effective fashion reflects the attitude of a man, that how can I be without
That's
a job?
right.
How can I give up my job?
No, and it's he takes it for granted. Like
That
if
she
you
will leave
had,
the job.
yeah, if you had left your job, we could have had a life together. Again, another of the ads that I really thought was very interesting was the ad for Biba. Now, there what I liked is they took a hackneyed, traditional kind of situation where the girl is going to be seen by a boy, and they're looking at an arranged marriage. And by the way, arranged marriages are fine as long as the woman is in a position
Has
to
the choice.
exercise her option. But what I liked about this ad is, while the entire situation was very hackneyed and traditional, but the boy's response, when the boy says, give me a chance, give me 10 days, and I will learn to cook something for you, I thought that was amazing.
And the kind of conversation it created in the social media,
Absolutely.
it was shared extensively, and young people started talking about it, and that is amazing.
And
so that is it. They're not just selling a product, they're also selling an idea. So there are 2-3 ads which are really very good, which challenge the gender stereotypes of a man. The one which I really like is the Galaxy 4 Note, Samsung Note 4, where they show the man spending time with her daughter,
Correct.
taking her for the parents teacher for her performance, then takes her out for eating somewhere, and then he gets a message, and then he does his work. He takes her to the office, keeps her in her room, makes his presentation, and comes. The work-life balance, which we see only as that of the women, here shows a man achieving that work-life home balance. So that is something which is really path-breaking, I felt.
Right.
And the other one which is in the similar league is the Raymond's
Raymond.
Complete Man,
Yeah.
where the man actually decides to stay back to look after the sick
Child.
child, so
Yeah.
that the woman could go for work.
Yeah.
So these are the things, like we really need to question this macho image of a man, and then bring new images of men which are more socially acceptable.
So your number 3 is Samsung.
Samsung, and the
My
fourth
number
one
3
is
Biba.
yeah, and my fourth is that ad about the girl who leaves the job because
Mantra. That's a
Mantra ad is amazing, because once again it addresses a very important issue of gender discrimination in workplaces.
Correct.
And then you may say why they put a female boss and not a male boss. So
No, but
that's not a
no. In
not a
fact,
thing we have.
interesting
Very-
thing with the Mintra ad is that they put a woman in that position.
Yeah.
Okay, let us not forget that women are as much perpetuating gender stereotypes as men are. And
That
that's
is
the
true.
fundamental point that ad makes, which I really salute. I mean, it's a great point.
The fact that here is a woman who challenges that and then takes a stand against it, and it is such a rampant practice that people, organizations just ask women to leave the job when they get pregnant, because they don't want to give the 3 months of maternity leave and many other benefits that they have to give the women, especially in the private sector. So it addresses a very serious issue in a very interesting interesting fashion. I think they're really moving beyond the limits, beyond the framework, out of the box thinking to address social issues through advertising, and I think that is amazing. There are 4 or 5 points which you should keep in mind when you're making advertising. That are you giving equal space and equal role to men and women in any advertising? Because I find many youth brands are giving that kind of a space. They have equal number of men and women, young men and women in the advertisement. And the second thing is the way they are addressed, the way they are spoken to in the advertisements is also very important. Third point is, are you promoting certain stereotypes because they are comfortable, they are accepted, they don't cause too much of, hassles, disruption in your creative communication? Are you really reflecting the reality? So these are a few points if you can keep in mind. I think the communicators can avoid many of the pitfalls of being gender insensitive in their communication.
And honestly, I frankly think we're seeing a lot more gender sensitive advertising today, because more and more marketers and advertisers are concerned about consumer backlash.
Yeah.
And because of social media, it is very easy to, point out something that's offensive. And that has again become a
and it's not
good
just
control.
limited to urban areas, because it's
it's
also rural
all
and
over.
everywhere. So that's one thing which is, I think, really putting the pressure on the advertising community.
good.
And before we close, here's a look at the campaigns released this week.
The Rush Hour Race.
Bajaj Avenger has unveiled a new campaign that aims to serve as a wake-up call, especially to the youth, bringing them face-to-face with the bitter truth of their lives, making them relive and discover life. To be launched first on the digital platform, the integrated campaign borrows from the successful theme of Feel Like God, which made the Avenger a highly sought-after bike when it was launched over a decade ago. Keeping with the original philosophy, the campaign conceptualized by Mullen Lintas shows the Avenger man traversing a break-free journey yet again and sees him giving up certain choices that would have otherwise impaired his freedom. Following Nissan's recent announcement about the new lineup of cricket talent comprising India batting star Rohit Sharma, West India all-rounder Andre Russell and New Zealand captain Suzie Bates in support of its partnership with the ICC, the brand has rolled out a series of campaigns to engage the audience during the T20 World Cup.
Proud supporter of cricketing excitement.
Lay's has unveiled the second ad in their trilogy of its new Love to Love It campaign. The campaign unfolds with a film featuring brand ambassador Ranbir Kapoor and seeks to tempt consumers to grab their Lay's promo pack to be able to win daily prizes. The promo film will run in multiple languages across the country. Conceptualized by J. Walter Thompson, the campaign is considered to be one of the biggest ever promotions by Lay's, and the consumer engagement is expected to have a significant presence across multiple consumer touchpoints.
Love है ही कुछ ऐसा कि बना दे सबसे gentle को भी mental.
That's all we have in this edition of Brandstand. We had great fun bringing it to you. Do mail us your feedback at brandstand@zeemedia.slgroup.com or reach out to us via Twitter. I'll see you all next week, and here's wishing more power to all you women out there. Goodbye.